Imagine you just won the lottery, not a small scratch card win, a life-changing, jaw-dropping 8-figure jackpot. You have more money right now than most people will earn across 5 lifetimes. So tell me, why would you end up broke? That question sounds absurd. It sounds like a punchline. But here is the uncomfortable truth. Studies show that a significant number of lottery winners end up filing for bankruptcy within 5 years of their win. Some lose it faster than that. And when you look closely at what actually happens to these people, you stop laughing. Because what destroys them is the exact same force quietly working against your finances right now. This is not a story about lottery winners. This is a story about you. Your brain was not built for wealth. It was built for survival. For most of human history, your ancestors lived in a world of scarcity. Food was unpredictable. Shelter was temporary. Resources had to be consumed immediately, shared with the tribe, or they were gone. The idea of storing abstract wealth, numbers on a screen, a balance in an account, would have meant nothing to a mind shaped by that environment. What mattered was what you could use today. Psychologists call this present bias, the tendency to overvalue what is in front of you and undervalue what is far away. Richard Thaler, the economist who won the Nobel Prize for his work on behavioral economics, spent decades documenting how this one cognitive pattern shapes virtually every financial decision humans make. It is not a flaw in your character, it is a feature your brain evolved to have. The problem is that feature was designed for a world that no longer exists. When a lottery winner receives their payout, something predictable happens inside their mind. The sum of money is so large it stops feeling real. There is a psychological phenomenon called mental accounting, also identified by Thaler, where people treat money differently depending on how they received it, where it came from, and how it is mentally categorized. Earned income feels precious. Found money feels expendable. Windfall money, money that arrived without effort, sits in a completely different mental bucket. And money in that bucket gets spent differently. It gets spent faster. It gets spent without guilt. It gets spent on things that feel like they belong in a life that money was supposed to create. The spending starts almost immediately. A new house, then a second one for the parents, cars for siblings, vacations, generous gifts that turn into loans nobody expects to pay back. A restaurant investment that a cousin pitched at the family dinner 3 weeks after the win. The winner is not being reckless. They are being human. Every single purchase feels like a reasonable expression of what this windfall represents. Freedom, generosity, a new life. But there is a trap hidden inside that logic, and it was identified decades ago by a researcher named Philip Brickman. In 1978, Brickman and his colleagues published a study that would become one of the most cited papers in the psychology of happiness. They surveyed lottery winners, people who had experienced serious accidents that left them paralyzed, and a control group of ordinary people. The results were almost impossible to believe. The lottery winners were not significantly happier than the control group. In some measures, they reported less pleasure from ordinary daily activities than before their win. The paralysis survivors, meanwhile, reported nearly the same levels of happiness as before their accidents. Brickman called this hedonic adaptation. Your brain recalibrates to whatever your new normal is. Within months of any major change, positive or negative, your baseline emotional state drifts back toward where it started. The mansion becomes ordinary. The luxury car becomes just your car. The feeling of abundance that was supposed to last a lifetime fades in less than a year. And then something worse happens. Your spending does not reset with your emotions. The lifestyle that was supposed to be a reward becomes an obligation. The big house has property taxes, maintenance, utility bills. The family members who received help now expect continued help. The social circle that expanded now includes people whose lifestyle requires money you are quietly burning through. The restaurant investment is losing money, and you are too proud or too afraid to say that anything has changed. This is what psychologist Brad Klontz calls a sudden wealth syndrome. Klontz, a financial psychologist who has worked directly with lottery winners, athletes, and inheritance recipients, found that people who receive large sums of money without a gradual psychological adjustment to that wealth almost always struggle. The money arrives, the mindset does not change, and the gap between those two things is where fortunes disappear. Now, here is the part that matters for you. Because you did not win the lottery, and you might be thinking this entire story is about an extreme edge case that has nothing to do with your life. But think about the last time you got a tax refund. Did it feel like income you had already earned, or did it feel like a bonus? Think about the last time you had a genuinely good financial month. A side payment that came through, a commission, a gift. Did that money get treated the same way you treat your regular paycheck? Or did it go somewhere faster, with less resistance? Most people treat windfalls differently from earned income. That is present bias and mental accounting working together in your own bank account every single time extra money arrives. And the same mechanism that burns through lottery millions can quietly erode smaller surpluses. A raise that disappears into lifestyle inflation within 6 months. A bonus that feels too big to invest and ends up spent on things you cannot quite remember. A tax refund that is gone before April is over. The scale is different. The psychological engine is identical. Researchers at Vanderbilt University, along with economists Mark Hoekstra and Scott Hankins, studied a group of lottery winners in Florida and tracked their financial outcomes over time. They found that winners who received larger lump sums were actually more likely to file for bankruptcy than smaller winners. More money, more bankruptcy. The size of the windfall did not protect people. It accelerated the exact same spending patterns that were already there before the win. This finding is uncomfortable because it suggests that more money is not always the variable that changes your financial outcome. What changes your financial outcome is what happens inside your head when the money arrives. The lottery winner who ends up broke was not unlucky. They were psychologically unprepared. They had no framework for thinking about the money in a way that extended beyond the immediate present. They had no identity as a wealthy person, only an identity as someone who had received a large sum. And when that sum was gone, they had no tools to rebuild. So, what does this actually mean for how you handle money? The research points towards something called psychological ownership, the degree to which you feel a sense of personal responsibility and stewardship over a resource. Studies by marketing researcher Joanne Peck at the University of Wisconsin found that when people develop a strong sense of ownership over something, they treat it with more care and make longer-term decisions about it. The problem with windfalls is they never feel fully owned. They feel borrowed, temporary, like they belong to a version of your life you have not yet earned. Building psychological ownership over money, earned or unexpected, requires treating it with the same intentionality regardless of its source. A tax refund is income you already worked for. A bonus is not a different category of money. A lottery win, hypothetically speaking, is not play money. It is real money with the same rules as every dollar you have ever carefully budgeted. The other insight the research offers is this. Your relationship with money was formed long before you had any. Your beliefs about what wealth means, what it does to people, whether you deserve it, whether it is dangerous to have too much of it, all of that was wired in during childhood by watching the adults around you. Klontz calls these money scripts, and they run silently in the background every time you make a financial decision, whether the amount is $20 or $20 million. The lottery winner who burns through a jackpot is often not just making poor spending choices. They are replaying a deeply encoded belief that people like them do not stay wealthy. That money is meant to be shared until it is gone. That holding onto it is greedy. That the life the money represents is not actually theirs to keep. You almost certainly have a version of these scripts too. They just play out at a smaller scale, which is why they are harder to see. The way out is not just financial discipline, it is financial identity. Deciding that the way you handle money, whether there is a little of it or a lot of it, reflects who you are and not just what you have. Lottery winners go broke because the money changes their account balance without changing their internal map of the world. The people who do not go broke, the ones who build something lasting with an unexpected windfall, are the ones who treat new money exactly the way they treat all their money, with seriousness, with a plan, with a belief that the wealth belongs to them and deserves to last. You did not win the lottery today, but somewhere in how you just thought about that, whether you felt relief or disappointment, is a small signal about your own relationship with sudden wealth. The real question was never what you would do with the money. The real question is what the money would do with you.